Welcome back, everybody, to the Soul Sisters podcast. Alyssa and I are happy to be here with you today. Wanted to give a huge thank you to Alyssa for doing a solo episode on our last release. I've had some unfortunate things come about in my household, so I'm going to give you a little update today, and then we are just going to talk about, navigating that space where we have to manage our emotions during difficult times. I've been going through a very difficult time lately, and election season is coming up, and so we're gonna dive in and talk about these things together. I'll start with a little update on why I wasn't on our last episode. So my dog Chubbs, if you know, you know, he's pretty much my favorite thing in the whole world. He's my best friend. And one day he was himself, and the next day both of his back legs were just really paralyzed, couldn't use them. He was in a world of pain. We took him to the emergency room. They gave him some painkillers. It didn't really do anything. Came back for about 3 days, and I was just like, no, something's wrong. So we went to a different emergency room because fuck those people. I was not happy with the fact that they didn't even do an x-ray. And they intubated him that night because he was having trouble breathing. And then the very next morning, he went into emergency surgery. He had spinal surgery, 2 blown discs in his back. And so he's just regaining strength and recovering and, learning how to walk and navigate out 2 discs in his back. But he's doing really well. Better than I even thought that he could, better than the doctors thought that he could. And so I'm just really grateful for that. But that would be why I was not here last episode. So thank you again, Les, for taking it over and holding the fort while I was gone. I super appreciate you.
It was not nearly, I would say, not fun doing it without you, especially under the circumstances. So I'm really glad that Chubbs is on the mend. And if you watched a couple podcasts ago, you definitely heard us talking about him quite a bit because Emily and I did a podcast in the same space, and Chubbs was in that space with us too. So Chubbs has been on the pod, and Chubbs is just a highlight of many people's day. So I'm so glad that he's doing so much better.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really difficult. But the last episode was great. I think we all needed to call in the season right now where we need to calm down a little bit. So that was a great meditation. And I know a lot of people that gave you compliments and just said that it was necessary at that time. So that's greatly appreciated. And I just want to say I have so much empathy for parents of animals or parents in general. This is not a human child, and I now have even more respect for mothers than I did before because I don't think I'd slept in about 4 weeks. Just every move he makes, every time he changes position, he breathes differently. I just am watching and always alert. And it's definitely not for the faint of heart. And I just want to remind people as well, like if you're thinking of getting an animal or a pet, I know that not everyone connects to their pets so much as I am, especially with Chubbs, because we've been through some crazy things together. But just remember that, like, during their difficult times, they need you, and you have to be prepared to take that on because at some point there is going to be a difficult time, and it's part of your responsibility as a parent of an animal or just a parent in general to be able to support that. So I just wanted to say that. Because I think a lot of the times, especially as the holidays are coming up, people are like, oh, let's get a puppy or, let's get a cat. It's like, it's more than just buying an animal and feeding it,
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about like responsibility, how have you, taken responsibility for yourself and your well-being during this time? And I know Troy is probably just as stressed as you are. So how are, you two taking care of each other? Tell us.
Yeah. I will say Troy is much better at managing the stress and his emotions than I am. He is definitely the level-headed one of the two of us, which surprises no one. This is not surprising news. I would say that right around this week, I'm starting to turn the corner. I've been going to therapy a lot. I've been leaning on Troy a lot. I think I cried almost every day since October 3rd. And I've had a lot of panic attacks. I had a 13-hour long panic attack the other day. It was horrific. And so, reminder also to people that are listening, like, just because we talk about these things doesn't mean that we're always going to be perfect at using the tools that we have. I have lots of tools. I have a therapist as a best friend, for God's sake, and I still had a 13-hour long panic attack. So I'm managing it okay. I think that seeing him recover, like today, he sprinted across the floor, and I was like, oh, sprinting is new. This is fantastic. But it has been a very long month, and I am very tired. And I know that Troy is also very tired, but I would say he's probably handling it a lot better than I am.
Yeah, and sometimes managing these things are literally just like acknowledging the suck and, you know, not judging it or like thinking that you should be better at it or, you know, you shouldn't be feeling a certain way. And so I'm really glad that when I asked, you know, how are you managing that, you can be vulnerable and straightforward and be like, in some ways I'm not. And in other ways, you know, this is how it's being managed. So thanks for being real with us as always.
Can we name the episode that Managing the Suck? I feel like that is
Yes.
that is such a great title for everything that a lot of people are feeling right now. How to manage the suck. That's the new theme. I take back everything I said in the intro. How to manage the suck.
I love that.
That was fantastic. But yeah, it just sucks. It sucks. It's getting better. But it was really, really horrifying for a while. I would say moving forward, I'm really going to try and look at what's going well, because all I saw for the last 4 weeks is what was not going well, or the potential of, okay, today he's doing well, but what's going to happen tomorrow? We don't know, you know, that kind of thing, questioning my decisions. And you know, he can speak for himself. So there was a lot of questioning of like, is he going to have a quality of life? Is this worth it? You know, that kind of thing. And so I think moving forward, just my biggest takeaway for myself is what's going on that's going well. He's happy. Troy came home from hunting today. He was so happy. I haven't seen him that happy in weeks, you know? So I think maybe just looking at what happiness can I hold on to while I'm terrified.
Yeah, I think that's honestly what your mom texted me about, is that she in November has started like a what's going well list or like a gratitude list. So shout out, Beth. We love you so much.
Yeah, she did tell me. So this is a really great tool for other people that are listening. My mom did tell me that she texted you this. I forgot. She does like a gratitude jar. And it's a jar where she and everyone in her house, and also anyone that walks in her house, has to write something that they're grateful for that day. And her message really was, some days you have to manage the suck. Some days it's really hard to put something down on a piece of paper, you know, but you have to find a way to put something down on the piece of paper. My God, what a great thought. What a great exercise. But also, I forgot she even said that. So thank you for bringing it up. Thanks, Mom. That's a good one for this episode for sure.
Yeah. Okay, but you said like you want to notice what's going well, and you did that very well regarding Chubbs. You said like he sprinted, surprise, he's happy. You know, what's going well for you, for your body, for your person, not you and Chubbs. What's going well for you?
What's going well for you, Lisa? These hard questions. Oh my God. What's going well for me? What's going well for me? I picked up my wedding dress today and I felt beautiful, which never happens because I have a lot of body dysmorphia, but I I felt beautiful for the first time in a really long time this morning. So that's going on for me. I will also say that it was really hard for me to leave the house these last couple of weeks, and progressively it's gotten better, where it's like I left the house for an hour, then I left the house for 2 hours, and then I left the house for a full day. Nothing bad happened and everything was okay and I could still enjoy myself. So yeah, we'll go with that for now. Good.
Fantastic answers.
Hard questions for me today. What's going well for you?
Well, what's not going well is how much I feel like I need to do because we own a house now. But what is going well is that I have made a physical to-do list right here. I have crossed nothing off of it yet, but I think I did just cross something off yesterday and haven't crossed it off yet. And just having a list of things like I know I don't need to do at this moment, and just knowing that it's there, I can actually like kind of not erase it from my brain, but I can focus on other things and maybe other things that are going well. Like communicating softly with Caleb about some of the things on the list, because I am definitely the kind of person who's like talking to myself, like, you need to go do that thing. And so when I talk to other people, especially ones that I am very close with, I'm like, oh, like we need to go do this, or could you go do this, instead of like, hey, prompting, kindness, could we do this in the next few days? So I think that's going a lot better. One could say, well, and then just always having yummy meals and events to look forward to always makes me feel well inside. And, when I'm eating good things, that also makes me feel literally well on the inside. So I think that's what's going well for me. And I'm so glad that everything is not okay. I'm not so glad that everything's not well for you, but that you have found so many good things that are going well, that are really powerful and incredible. So you made me smile really, Rick. Thank you.
No, of course. I'm glad things are well for you as well. I think that something that both of us can really connect on is that we are just in a season where it's really hard to find the things that are well. There's a lot of transition going on. Chubbs is sick. You bought a house. My wedding's coming up, which puts responsibility on both of us because marrying me, right? You're not going to be my wife, but you are the officiant.
I would though.
The election is coming up and there's just so much hatred around us, and it's so easy to get sucked in and be angry. And I think that like this list that you're talking about, a to-do list, when you have so much in your head, is so beneficial, but also it's a great tool for like, even if you don't make a list and you use the jar like my mom does, we have to find a way to decompress because everything is so heightened and overstimulated and a little bit toxic at the time. It's really hard to exist in the world right now without being angry, regardless of what you are angry about, and we need tools for decompression from that.
Preach. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we were talking about it, but like this kind of compartmentalizing in a way, it's like, yeah, I'm really upset about a lot of things and I need to decompress from those things, and also I need to be able to let them go for a moment for my own sake. And I know that some people don't have the ability to let them go sometimes, if we're in like a war-torn area or what have you. But the real aspect of it is that like this election is going to affect a lot of us, and so I don't really have the opportunity to like forget about some of these things because they could affect me, and also I still be able to actually let go for a moment. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, I think that would go in, if I had a gratitude jar, maybe I'll start one. I think that would go in my gratitude jar, where can we really let it go for more than a couple of hours? No, because we're very passionate about these things, especially as women, right? There's a lot of scary things going on right now during election season where you know, regardless of the president, you need to be concerned about all of the elections as a woman, but also we are very fortunate in the sense of we don't live in a war zone. We don't live in, right now, we don't live in a country where our rights have been taken from us yet, or a state where our rights have been taken from us yet. So in my gratitude jar, I would probably put that I am thankful that at this time I can turn my phone off for an hour and not see it. I can change the channel. I cannot watch cable, so I don't have to see the slanderous messaging that comes up on commercials. I can just sit in silence. I have the ability to do that. And a lot of people don't have that ability. So whatever I can grasp at to decompress, I'm going to put that in my fictional gratitude jar, because like you said, a lot of people don't have that opportunity, but I do. Right now I do. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're a person that has a lot of empathy, which if you're listening to this podcast, you probably do. So thank you for your superpowers of empathy. But I think one thing is just like noticing how we're feeling in our body. And you mentioned you had like a very long panic attack, and I'm so grateful. I don't know if I know exactly what that feels like, but I know as I was listening to you speak about scary things, I could feel my heartbeat increasing a little bit. And I could feel, it wasn't pounding out of my chest, but it was pounding. And so just noticing those things and like breathing through them, or simply just noticing, and like, maybe we have a little judgment on it, but even just noticing that is better than just sitting with it and not having any like understanding of it, or just like, oh my God, I feel so bad, so terrible, bad. And it's like, okay, what is that actually? Like, let's chain this and see, how am I actually feeling in my body? Like, what is physically happening to me? And I think those are superpowers, practices, skills that we have to hone. But yeah, it kind of takes some of the power away from it, because as you were saying those things, I was like, okay, my palms are starting to sweat, my chest is feeling funny, like my eyes are darting a little bit, because it's hard to like look directly at the person who's talking about fear. So yeah, just something, just a little poke on that too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think when I have, and this is for anyone really that experiences, whether you've had a panic attack, an anxiety attack, yes, there is a difference, or you have full-blown anxiety disorder, I do. I think for me, that justification of how I'm feeling in my body when I have a panic attack is helpful. But when I'm having full-blown anxiety disorder, the problem is my body. And so it makes it a little harder. When I was going through that 13-hour panic attack, I actually had to call my cousin, because she's an RN, and I was just like, I need you to tell me whether or not to go to the hospital, because my arm was, I thought I was having a heart attack. Like, it wasn't that my chest hurt, it was that my arm was tingly. I felt like my face was drooping, like I was having a stroke. And this was right after I got my COVID and my flu shot, and I haven't had those in 3 years. So my body was just like, what the fuck is this? And I was having anxiety about the dog. And, it's terrifying to be alive right now. And my body, when I have full-blown anxiety attacks, it's my body that scares me. So like, I overly notice how my body is feeling. I overly notice that my left arm feels well, or my hand is tingling, or my vision is blurred, and it scares the shit out of me. And so I think that's such a great tool to utilize when you need to, like, I'm driving in the car and I start to panic, and I'm like, okay, I feel okay. Like, nothing in my body hurts right now. I'm okay. But in full-blown anxiety, if you experience your symptoms like I do, sometimes you got to manage the suck. Sometimes you just got to ride that wave. And if you give acknowledgement to how you're feeling in your body, for me, I feel like it works against me, but also it's utilized as a tool in the sense of, this is what I feel right now, and I can't fucking ignore it. This is just what I feel. I have to tell someone has to listen to me. Someone has to understand that this is what I'm feeling, even though it makes no sense. So I think that tool can be utilized in a number of ways, but also recognize that sometimes it can heighten what you're feeling a little bit.
Yeah, so it seems like you were able to notice and differentiate between the two in that experience for you, and then you reached out to someone that you know and love and like, you know, maybe has medical knowledge. So then what? You know, what did the end of it look like? Was it just like, oh, enough time has passed, my body is like regulating again? Or like, you know, how did you manage the suck?
Yeah. I didn't really. I had to just ride the wave. Didn't sleep that night. Troy was with me all night, putting weighted blankets on me, trying to use like compression to like, you know, tighten and release. I didn't sleep that entire night. I called off work the next day. I drugged myself in the morning so that I could not fight going to sleep. And then I went and got a massage and I felt better. And that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sounds like you managed it, you know, though it didn't feel like it throughout. Like you did so many things that eventually led to, you know, some peace. So
yeah. And I think thanks. I think talking about that really, you know, Alyssa and I have some high stress items that are going on, but it's also just a high stress time for the world right now. So I want to bring it back into the view cap of however you're feeling, whatever's making you nervous or upset or angry or you're scared. Sometimes you just have to lean into it. Sometimes you just have to be scared and then treat it with compassion. Did I want to call off work on Monday? No. Alyssa knows this about me. I don't call off work. That's not a thing that I do. But sometimes you just have to give yourself respect. And so as we enter a really difficult season, I urge everyone to feel your feelings and let them be valid, but also have respect for yourself and have respect for other people around you. That would be my biggest piece of advice, if it's even advice. I don't know. That's just what I'm doing.
Yeah. I think that, you know, we are all advice. We're just walking advice. If you want to take it, great. If you don't, also great.
Then no. Yeah. Then don't do it.
Yeah. Once I had this spa day planned for Caleb and I for months, and then we got very close to it and something came up and we were like, oh, should we cancel it again and reschedule? And finally we're just like, no, you know, we just need to do it. There might be some other things that we're stressed about amidst that day, but just taking the time and like really trying to find some peace was really, really lovely. Like my skin felt it, you know, like just every part of my body was like, thank you. I know this won't last forever, but thank you for some relief. So whatever works for you, you know, maybe take the time. Like we're getting into what daylight savings just happened right now. And we're getting into the dark times of the year, you know, if you have the money, like give your caretakers some money, go get a massage, go, you know, make an appointment with your therapist, like just take care of yourself. However, you know, soup season is the best, even if it's a can of chicken noodle soup from your food bank. Like, I don't care. For me, it's like really salty stuff. That is what makes my body like feel better. And, you know, my whole life I was like, oh, salt is so bad. I watched my parents, mostly my dad, just like salt the shit out of things. I'm like, oh my God, salt's so bad. And it's like, actually, nope, salt is not bad if your body is low on it, or if you just want some salty stuff. So, you know, do what you need to do for yourself, even if it's something as little as eating salt.
Honestly, eat your salt. It's just a little slight nutrition fact in case anybody cares to hear it. Salt is literally what electrolytes is made of, and you need it to function. Do not salt your pizza, but please make sure you salt your food to taste accordingly and get enough electrolytes in your day. That's my TED talk on salt. But anyways, so make sure you drink it, you eat it, you use it as you can. But I want to go back to talking about, you know, the things that we do to work through stressful times. this podcast is being recorded on November 3rd. So election day is November 5th. We have a lot of stress as a country revolving around the election. And I know Alyssa and I personally also have a lot of stress revolved around this election. And so my question to you, Liz, is do you have a plan? Are you going to make a plan? Do you just have some things in your head that you might utilize in terms of, regardless of how this goes, it's going to be more stressful if it goes one way or the other, in our opinion. But regardless of how this goes, it's going to be stressful because we are just surrounded by toxicity at this point. So what is your plan, if you have one, to come back down and decompress and take care of yourself as we work through this?
Yeah, great question. So November is such an interesting time. I think we're going to possibly post this on the 11th of November, which I think is Veterans Day. And so I think just knowing, like, no matter which way we're swinging, and unfortunately we're swinging one way or the other, it's going to be one of the two. And so, some people aren't voting, and that's, your choice, but it is what it is. Anyways, I think as like Americans, and immigrants, people who live here, we are resilient humans. Veterans Day is a testament to that. We have had a lot of struggle and people who have picked themselves back up after legit bomb trauma in Iraq, etc. So I think just knowing that, like, no matter what, we're going to move forward. We might be moving backwards in some areas, but we all have to continue to move forward. I think just knowing that in my heart, like, stresses me out and still gives me a little hope. My birthday is always around election time, so I'm fortunate. And also, why does my birthday have to go around presidential elections? So just like having life to celebrate, something to celebrate is beneficial for me. So, maybe have your little unbirthday party after the election and treat yourself to something. My love language is a hot springs. I've probably said that so many times. And also I watch Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. If you've never watched it, he is now an American citizen. He has been naturalized. And it's just putting a little bit of humor onto the drab darkness that is our news. And so I always look forward to knowing that I'm not alone and knowing that this show has won so many awards and other people relate to the news that he's giving to us. So those are some of the things that I always have. John Oliver's crew is small and they take lots of vacations because he treats people the way that they should be treated. And that's fine. Just wait until, another one is released. I look forward to those things. So that's kind of what I do. I try to intentionally kind of slow down even when I'm like talking about what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So same question. To all of you out there that's listening, also thank you for listening. And also, what's up?
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure that people at home will hear it as well, but just being your friend, and also I can see your face. I can tell that talking about the month of November is very heavy for you, right? It's a stressful time. It's really hard. I think focusing on your birthday is such a great outlet. A very merry on birthday to you, if you like Alice in Wonderland. I think it's a great outlet. I think the idea of we go back to the idea of gratitude, finding things to look forward to, finding things that are going well, finding things that we can celebrate. Because I truthfully, I'm just in a space where I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just sad. I truthfully believe that regardless of who gets elected, I will remain sad. I think that I could be sadder depending on how this goes. But generally speaking, I really don't have faith that any party really cares about me. or people like me or people similar to me. That's just my personal opinion. It's okay if yours differs. And so I am going to utilize my vote in a way that I think benefits, you know, the greater amount of people. I hold on to that. I care about people. That's the kind of person I am. And I want people to succeed and do well. And I think that just reminding myself that even if people don't agree with my vote, even if people are so jaded and angry and upset, at the end of the day, I know that it's going to be okay. Like you said, people are resilient and we're going to be all right. And I just kind of have to hold on to that because I'm just overwhelmed with sadness at this point. It just makes me incredibly sad. And so I think going back to like, I'll probably after I vote, just turn it off. I'll probably just turn it off. I probably just won't engage. I'm going to focus on what I can control because I can't control billions of people. I can only control myself. I can approach things with compassion and empathy, which is something that I was talking about at a Reiki event recently, where it's very hard when you have conflicting views with family members or friends or people that you respect. And the reminder was just, you're not going to get anywhere, fighting anger with anger, and to just have compassion and empathy when you're talking to those people. And so I think while grasping to celebration, like my wedding is coming up, that's exciting. My honeymoon is coming up and I'm going to get to leave the country, which is fucking fabulous, to be honest with you. I think that I'm just going to hold on to the fact that I have a lot of love in my heart for people that even I don't agree with, and that probably pisses them off more than me being angry at them. I just can't help it. That's just who I am. So.
Yeah. And I mean, like, just looking at the facts is, I think, helpful. And if you are trying to have conversations with people you love, like pulling up their literal policies, like by hopefully a reputable source, we can listen to people banter and talk and, make stuff up, but the facts are kind of right in front of us. So that's something that I try to hold on to and try to get informed. And and if you haven't really grasped yet, we are not voting for Donald Trump. So I'm just gonna say it. And we are voting for Kamala Harris. So just gonna drop that bomb. But so what else? What else do we talked about self-care. We talked about just like what's upcoming. I think it's incredible to think far ahead. Like Emily is thinking about her, like a really wonderful trip that you're getting to take. I was just thinking like literally like 3 days after the election. And so also thinking more long term, like what are my highlights that I'm really looking forward to is extremely powerful. I didn't even mention M's wedding. I was like, oh my God, I just have to get through like the next week. So yeah, I have really exciting things to look forward to. And I hope that you do too, where you like find something that is a treat to yourself, whether it's like watching a TV show you're excited about and like not going and checking the news like Em said. So
I encourage everyone, regardless of who you're voting for, just do your best to have respect for other people. I cannot stress that enough. We are very lucky to live in a place where we get to vote. Please don't forget that. Don't forget that it's not just the president, it's there's so much more than that. And there's so much to be said about understanding the other elections that go on throughout the year in your state, locally, right? Even higher than your state, and just educating yourself. And if that doesn't change your vote, then okay, do what you gotta do. But please, respectful to other people and understand that we are all just trying to function and do what we can to create a better life for ourselves. Speak to people with compassion. And if you can't do that, then a couple days after the election, stay home. Only talk to your dog. I don't know, go camping by yourself, something. I know that, thinking short term, something that I'm definitely going to do is probably avoid my neighbors, because they don't function with a lot of compassion in their words. And I understand that it's a very hippy dippy point of view to a lot of people, and that we can't run the country based off of love and unity. But you know what? We kind of can. We can. And that's the way that human beings were meant to function. And the amount of hate that exists and the amount of extremes that exist on both sides is just, it's unfortunate. And so I urge you, short term and long term, like, election season is right before the holidays. Please don't be an asshole to your family. Please go into your holidays just being really happy that you get to spend it with your family. Do that and fill your cup that way. I urge you to do that.
Yeah, I think the scariest parts are like the othering, and it's like, love your neighbor, but if I don't know you, then I don't really view you as a person that deserves to, be in my country. And I think that is what is just really unsettling. And so,
Respect.
yeah, reaching out to people that we do love instead of reaching out to strangers that we hate, if that is, the tea that you're sipping on right now.
Less hate, people. Less hate. The more, just so everyone's aware, let's make it special for a second. Let's just take it back to Reiki and energy. The more hatred you have in your body, the more stress that you carry, the more anger that you have. And this is something that I have to remind myself of all the time. The more sick you become, you have a higher chance of contracting cardiovascular disease. You have a higher chance of contracting cancer. Hate literally darkens your soul. It literally creates sickness. Please consider that when you feel a moment where you have to be hateful, resentful, mean, angry. I'm not saying I'm perfect all the time. I get angry all the time. It's something that I work on. I've talked about it on this podcast. I've worked through many anger issues. Something that I've learned in my Reiki teachings, something that I've learned from getting Reiki done to me, something that I learned through yoga, is that hate doesn't fuel anything but more hate. And it just depletes your body of everything that keeps it healthy. So please consider that when you are spreading hate to other people, you are also diminishing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this brings up something that recently happened. I was talking to someone about generational trauma. They are Jewish, and they have a lot of diseases that run in their family. And we were talking about just like energy healing, and like, of course, there's cancer running in a Jewish family from the Holocaust, that even if you've not, been living during that time, you still have experienced some health defects from that. And my partner was amongst the conversation, not quite in it. And I think because he really respected the person that was talking about this, because I very much identify by the energies that pass along to us. He was just so surprised that you can literally get cancer from cancerous things that have happened in the world, like a Holocaust. And I just thought that was so interesting, because he was very willing to hear it and needed to hear some facts and statistics. But I was surprised to know that he had not considered generational trauma from these kinds of things. So psychosocial trauma, post-traumatic, like injuries, poor hygienic conditions, prolonged malnutrition, having these experiences, and then, having birth and having more, it's just, it makes sense to me. And if it doesn't make sense to you and you're hearing this for the first time, I encourage you to just do some Googling, or talk to someone that you know that has something like that going on, perhaps. But yeah, thanks for sharing that, Emily. I'm really glad that we got here. I didn't know where we were headed today, and I think that this was a really effective circle back.
Yeah. I just something that has been really on my mind lately, because a lot of people, I mean, the Reiki community is a community that is very strong, and the studio that I go to has a very strong community base, and my Reiki master, who wrote the intro song to this podcast, is just one of the most wonderful people I've ever met in my entire life, and he is so gifted. But it's not a community that is widely respected or accepted, especially to those that are extremely religious, which if you are, by all means, live your life. It's just that there's a lot to be said. Even if you are extremely religious, go back and read the stories that prompt your religion, and understand that generational trauma, or things that happened in the past where then history repeats itself, is a real thing. And the people in those stories that carried hatred or malice and so on and so forth, it all comes back to us because that all lives in your soul. It all becomes a part of you if you don't allow light in. And sometimes it's easier than others. I'm not saying that I don't want to bitch slap somebody every once in a while, because Lord knows I do. But it's what happens after that moment that really counts. So if you're angry about the current goings on in our society right now, that's okay. You're allowed to be angry. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of misinformation, a lot of feelings, big feelings. But what's not okay is the disrespect that's happening to other people for having their own opinions and their own feelings and their own anger. Not okay is being outwardly, terroristic or unkind, or, physically hurting one another because we are so angry. That's not okay. It's gonna stick in your soul. And I don't want your soul to be sticky and black. I want your soul to be happy and light. And so I just really encourage you to remember that when you want to say that really heinous thing, or you really want to, lash out in these couple of weeks, please don't. Please just remember that we're all just trying to function on this planet, and that we are literally floating on a rock in the middle of space. This shit is not worth it. It's so not worth it. It's not worth it to do this to yourself. So please function with respect. That's all. That's my ending message for today, is please respect yourself and others.
My loves, it is so sexy to be curious. Open or closed. Does one have a negative connotation? Does one have a positive? I don't know, but I think for me to be curious and ask questions instead of shutting someone down or dismissing them is more powerful than the other, no matter what the topic is. If you're hyper religious, like Em said, live your life, but try new things, or listen to other people's perspectives. You don't have to adopt them, but to just not hear them, I think, is really dangerous. And Kamala Harris said she'll always have a seat at the table for a Trump supporter. And I think that shows some level of understanding and willingness to listen and move your boundaries and adjust, instead of, this is closed, the door is locked, you will not enter. I don't know. It just feels like kind of like Emily was saying, one is icky and black and scary, and takes just as much energy to be as hateful as it can to be loving or helpful or kind. So yeah, seek kindness, surround yourself with people who make you feel loved. And yeah, if you need to stay home because you're nervous that might not be reciprocated, then you can do that, I hope.
I love that. Curiosity. Approach it with curiosity instead of anger. that is such a great way to look at it. Ask questions.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going back to our new theme of like sitting with the suck or navigating the suck, it's like, okay, what's causing this? Are a lot of these things rational, reasonable? Sure. It makes it much easier to sit in that suck if it's just like, I hate everything. All these people are demons. I don't need to understand why I'm feeling this way. I'm just going to like sit in this suck and just feel so bad. I don't know. We can approach difficulties with grace or with lack thereof. So,
yeah.
And I know we all make mistakes too, like, you know,
yeah.
but
and we're going to make them.
Yeah.
We're going to keep making them. And I think, even with family members, I have family members that are not voting the same way as me. And that's a really difficult thing for me, but also I don't hate them. There's some of the people I love the most in my life. And because we approach conversations with compassion and understanding and wanting to understand why the other person is voting that way, it makes that conversation, it's not pleasant, but easier. It's easier for me to walk away feeling like, you know what, the person I love is still in there. You know, they're not this horrible, this horrible person because they're voting different than me. The person I love is still in there. I feel better now that I had that conversation. I still don't agree, but I feel better.
Yeah. And if your family is the family or people that attended the Mount Pleasant Halloween parade as Trump carrying Kamala Harris in handcuffs, ask them what was going on. Why? What was the purpose of that? Like, just curiously, not attacking. I'm not saying, this is just an example, but like, instead of just being like, these people are buck wild, what is happening? It's like, maybe ask them a question. I'm curious myself, but I'm also pretty sad about that.
Yeah. Again, that just goes back to like, that's not the behavior that we need to move forward in unity, right? It's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not. So we've carried some really heavy things here today. We have dogs that are sick and new homes and stress and weddings and elections. And I'm sure that on top of everything we are feeling, you all are also carrying a lot because there's a whole big wide world outside of this microphone in front of us right now. So if you're carrying the election, if you're carrying a tragedy, if you're carrying day-to-day stress, if you're carrying today and it's a bad day, we invite you in this moment to just take a breath. Let it out. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. We're all going to continue to function and do the best that we can to move forward in our lives, and it's going to be okay.
You are not alone. Reach out if you're going through it or you want anyone to talk to. There's billions of people out there, and Em and I are two of them that are compassionate and caring, and would love to hear from you. Yeah, I think that was like a little meditation ending from Em. You are not alone. It's so true.
You're not. We love you. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you again soon.